Yeah. Run it up, blondo. Run it up, blondo.
The Orlando Magic made a no-brainer choice by selecting Jalen Suggs with the 5th overall pick. Despite having a plethora of guards, both young and seasoned on the roster, Jalen Suggs was a prospect too good to pass up. However, mere moments after he was picked, there were doubts from both Magic and non-Magic fans about how well Suggs would fit in a roster that already has 3 young combo guards. Some believe that Markelle Fultz is going to be the casualty of adding another guard prospect, especially one that could need the ball in his hands too. I understand some causes for concern, worries about how adding another guard prospect could hinder everyone's development, but I'm here to tell everyone to chill. There's no reason to trade anyone yet, and that we actually have even more reason to keep Markelle now than we did before the draft. So in this video, I'll explain why Jalen has no problem sharing the ball, why we should keep Markelle until at least his contract expires, and why a guard-heavy rotation could work in the future by using some recent examples as proof. So let's get into it. Alright, first off, Jalen Suggs was such a highly regarded prospect not because of his athleticism and size, but because of his unselfishness and ability to impact the game without having the ball in his hands. He can explode and take over games while also sliding into a smaller role when someone else is in control. Suggs showcased that he can be a great off-ball scorer at Gonzaga. He has elite court awareness already and is a good cutter. He's strong enough to fight off screens while moving off the ball. He's a lob threat and crashes the boards well for putbacks. He can also attack closeouts and drive to the rim and finish. He just needs to be a better shooter off catch and shoots, but with this form and work ethic, it won't be a huge hurdle. Suggs wasn't a high usage player at Gonzaga. He had a usage percentage of 24%. For comparison, Terrence Ross had the same percentage this past year for us. Suggs wasn't even the second leading scorer and basically tied with Andrew Nemard as Gonzaga's assist per game leader. Suggs is the type of player that shouldn't carry an entire offense like Luka or what Cade is projected to be. He's more of a superstar role player per se. I expect him to be an uber athletic version of Tyrese Halliburton next year. Halliburton really succeeded last year as a secondary playmaker with De'Aaron Fox and DeLon Wright. You know, like picking apart defenses, making smart reads like finding open passing holes or lob opportunities after driving, and also knocking down open shots when needed. Jrue Holiday and Lonzo Ball are like this as well. I expect Suggs to do the same during the initial stages of his career. Suggs' true value will be shown when he's surrounded by other playmakers and offensive weapons, not when he's a lone playmaker, at least not yet. He's like a stable and rigid gear in a well-oiled machine, not the whole damn machine like Luka or 2017 Westbrook. You know, there's a reason why Jalen sought after Gonzaga and sort of pitched himself to go there, instead of the other way around where Gonzaga really tried to recruit him. That wasn't the case at all. He knew Gonzaga was basically an NBA team, and their roster would put him in the best position to showcase his skills. Suggs split ball handling duties with Joel Ayayi and Andrew Nemard and displayed his ability to dominate without the ball. So I think it'll be an easy transition for him to share the ball with RJ and Cole. Now, Jalen is still only 20 years old. He still hasn't fully developed as a basketball player yet. He split practice time growing up with football and basketball, so he couldn't dedicate all his time to hone his craft on the hardwood. He still has areas to improve on, such as being a better playmaker in the half court. So far, Suggs relies on his explosive first step and crossover to get by defenders and finding gaps. But he isn't crafty yet, and his handles aren't the greatest. Suggs doesn't have the ball on a string per se when he drives and maneuvers around the post like Chris Paul or even Markelle. It's a skill a primary ball handler needs to excel in the NBA. Now, of course, Suggs did well as a pick and roll ball handler in college, despite this, but in the NBA, he'll need to improve his footwork and tighten up his handle or else he'll get picked. It showed against Davion Mitchell and Baylor's tough set defense in the final. The ball is always high on his side. He doesn't slither around defenders and find his spot or any openings to pass to like Markelle. Now, this is something I'm sure he'll eventually fix due to his IQ and work ethic, plus dedicating all his time to improve his game on the court. But his current half-court abilities brings me to Markelle Fultz and why he needs to be on the team even with Jalen on board. Markelle, despite his faults, has proven to be a good floor general and passer off the dribble. He sets up bigs and cutters so effortlessly with his vision. Yeah, he hasn't racked up many assists during a short time here, but that was due to him still getting back into things as a basketball player, our slow pace, the emphasis of giving Vooch the ball in the post, and also Evan Fournier being given ball handling duties as well. And of course, he's still a little bit turnover prone, but we need to take into consideration that Markelle still only has played one real full season in his career. By the eye test alone, you can see the makings of a good primary playmaker in Fultz' game. Kel is a player who slithers around the mid-range patiently looking for any openings and searching for angles to take advantage of defenders being caught off guard. He finds or creates passing lanes well with his footwork, herky-jerky moves, and handles. He has the ball on a string that I alluded to earlier that elite primary playmakers need. He's similar to Chris Paul, Derrick Rose, and Shea in that way. Kel has an aspect of unpredictability in his game with the ball that Suggs doesn't have yet. And if we trade him, then we'll remove the only player on our team that has that ability. And yes, I'm biased because I'm a huge Markelle stan. He has an amazing story so far, and I just want him to succeed, and I want him to succeed in a Magic jersey. I'm hopeful that Coach Mosley will open up his game a little bit more and allow him to do more with the ball. But yeah, we need Markelle to be a point guard and playmaker until Suggs develops in the half court. And this brings me to my next point on why we shouldn't trade any of our young guards. I believe at their full potential, their games could complement each other's extremely well to where we could run some deadly small ball lineups at the end of games. Walton and Hammond are probably using a couple of recent small ball lineups as a template for our guards to follow. We don't have any post players anyways, and we might as well go small if Coach Mosley wants to push the pace more. You know, grabbing long rebounds and taking advantage of our speed and all the playmakers we have on transition on the open court. To add, going small means more ball movement in the half court. Putting out Suggs with Fultz on the floor along with one of RJ or Cole would allow us to copy what the Raptors did last year when they put out a starting lineup of Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Norm Powell. That lineup fared pretty well before Lowry's injury, which then led them to trade Norman Powell in order to get younger. They put up a net rating of +9 and an offensive rating of 121 with all three of them on the floor. Now, we won't be able to get away with starting Fultz, Suggs, and Cole. So, an even better outlook for the future of our backcourt would be to emulate what the 2020 Oklahoma City Thunder did. They didn't have a superstar, and they proved that you can succeed and contend while giving out major minutes to three guards. Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander started while Dennis Schroeder came off the bench. They usually finished games together and formed a great depth lineup. That 2020 Thunder team finished 5th in the loaded Western Conference after starting the season 6-11. And the reason for their turnaround and success was incorporating smaller lineups in games, specifically during crunch time. Among 602 three-man combinations that played major minutes in the 2020 season, they posted the best net rating at a staggering 26.62 points. They had an insane offensive rating of 131 and a respectable defensive rating of 104. And in the clutch, they posted an offensive rating of 124, the best in the league at that time. Chris Paul was a point guard and leader. Shai embraced being a secondary playmaker and off-ball scorer. And Dennis Schroeder was a 6th Man of the Year candidate. Dennis scored off of closeouts and catch-and-shoot three-pointers. All three of them played at least 30 minutes per game that season. So why were they so good together? Well, they bought into their roles well and were unselfish. All three of them were good shooters and moved well off the ball. Schroeder was a streaky shooter up until that point, and he shot 41% from catch-and-shoot three-pointers that year. Chris Paul shot 42% and Shai 41%. The trio also shot well from open three-point spot-up shots created from kickouts. Schroeder 43%, Chris Paul 42%, and Shai 39%. To compare, last season Cole Anthony shot 33% from both catch and shoot and wide open spot up threes. That was alright for a rookie, and I believe he'll improve as he has all the makings of being a microwave scorer off the bench who could thrive off ball, similar to Schroeder. RJ Hampton shot the best from catch and shoot threes at 39%, albeit in a small sample size last year. But I think he'll at least be a lethal, off-ball scorer with his speed and quick release. He also shot 36% from open threes last year. And Markelle, well, we all know about his shooting, and last season was too small of a sample size to use, but I'm just going to point out there that he shot 33% from catch and shoot three-pointers, which is good from where he was, 2 years ago with his yips. On to Jalen Suggs. Well, one of his biggest weaknesses is catch and shoot shooting. According to Synergy, he only scored 0.919 points per possession from those shots, which only grouped him with the 39th percentile in college. Now, I have faith in Jalen improving this, not only because of his work ethic and more time that he's going to have towards basketball, but also the fact that he ranked in the 94th percentile in pull-up shots. Pull-ups are much harder to make than catch and shoot shots. If he already has that down pat, then it's only a matter of time before he gets better running off screens and shooting. His form and release is too good for it not to. I would be shocked if Jalen isn't at least an above average catch and shoot 3-point shooter by his 3rd season. Continuing on, I know it will be nearly impossible to duplicate Chris Paul's impact. He's one of the greatest floor generals of all time. Even an older version of him was still impactful. Jalen is not the same type of point guard as Chris Paul as of now. He's more of the Drew Holiday, young Darren Williams type mold, a little bit of Westbrook too. However, I believe he can bring the same immeasurable intangibles that Chris Paul brings, like leadership, toughness, competitiveness, poise, what else? Decision making, genius basketball IQ. So for comparison, Markelle will be more of a primary ball handler and work around the mid-range like CP. Suggs will be the one who does a little bit of everything like Shea. And RJ or Cole will be like Shoota. Speedy guards who will attack closeouts and feed off driving kicks from Suggs and Fultz, and also playmake a little bit when needed. Now, what puts the icing on the cake with all the OKC comparisons are the similarities between Franz Wagner and Danilo Gallinari. They both are versatile players who could stretch the floor, play make, and guard multiple positions on the floor. Gallinari was key in rounding out that 2020 Thunder roster as he stretched the floor and knocked down open shots. He also punished smaller players on switches. I feel like Franz can do that as well as a rookie and expand further on that as he becomes more seasoned. Franz will allow us to add another playmaker on the floor and also a solid rebounder to help out JI. Therefore, Wagner was such a valuable pick in his ability to blend in with any lineup on the floor and also thrive in smaller ones. At their best, the future Magic small ball lineup will be able to attack whatever mismatches they see, since there will always be a mismatch if you go small, whether if it's a big on any of the 3 guards, or whether it's Franz punishing any small player that's on him or a slower forward. Expect Jalen to quickly find out mismatches and single to one of his teammates to take advantage of one. And let's not forget about Chuma Keke, who could also stretch the floor and do the same bits as Franz Wagner. Therefore, sharing the ball and moving well without the ball are major keys to success with small ball. It also helps to have pesky defenders on the other end. Chris Paul is a great two-way player and Dennis Schroeder is an annoying defender, something Cole Anthony can be. He might not be a great off-ball defender yet, but I can envision him being an aggressive and bothersome on-ball defender. I hope Jalen Suggs can become elite on defense where he'll be able to cover up some mistakes, and Markelle, like SGA, is good enough due to his size, quicks, and length. Remember, Kel has a 6'10" wingspan like Shea, and also remember, Shea was actually a poor defender in 2020, yet they still worked around that when going small. RJ Hampton has the length and lateral quickness to stay with his man, and it would also help to have a healthy Jonathan Isaac roaming around to help out as well. And I know this is all wishful thinking, as every fan of every team tends to kind of overrate their own team's prospects. But OKC is a good template to follow for our young squad. That team proved that a guard-heavy rotation can be successful if everyone buys into their role and gives 100% effort on both ends of the floor. Suggs, Fultz, RJ, and Cole could potentially, and I want to stress this point, potentially form a deadly guard rotation that could help us contend due to us having multiple playmakers and off-ball scorers out on the floor. All of them have shown flashes of being good playmakers, and all of them have raw skills of being good off-ball scorers as well. We should keep everyone and trot out a rotation featuring 4 guards when Kel comes back. Like, what do we have to lose anyways? If it's a disaster where not everyone buys into a lesser role and where we just can't make up for our lack of height on the other end on defense, then we'll probably get another top 5 pick and another top heavy draft. Or if it works out, then it's gonna work out. Like the 2020 Thunder, but a younger version and in a weaker conference. Of course, the absolute dream scenario would be a repeat of the late 80s Pistons, Bad Boy Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and Winnie Johnson. Just watch The Last Dance again to see how much of a force they were. To round off, I know we probably won't keep all 4 of them, even if it all works out. We can only tie up so much money on guards. So what we should do is throw all 4 of them into the fire and see who survives. The weakest one is the one who'll get traded in about 2 years. Now the wild card of all this is RJ Hampton. If he really is 6'7" and bulks up to at least 215 pounds, then he could be our small forward going forward, which would allow us to keep all of them. It would be just so perfect if he could bulk up in order to guard forwards without losing any of his burst. even if he does lose a little bit, he'll still be in the top tier of explosive players in the league. RJ also proved that he can hit mid-range shots, albeit mostly in high school, but it shows that he still has that in his game. So that's the end of the video. I just wanted to make something to end all discussions about trading Markelle or Cole in order to integrate Jalen Suggs into our lineup and get rid of the logjam at the point guard position. There's just no need to yet. Having 4 guards who can create but also go on scoring bursts is a luxury, not a liability. Let's see what we have in them before we trade anyone prematurely. We've done that in the past, and it really came back to bite us in the you-know-what in the long term. I remember way back when we traded Trevor Ariza because we had Rashard and Hero as forwards already, and that really hurt us going forward as both of them were washed by 2010. We also traded him because he couldn't shoot well at the time. Let's not make the same mistake with Kel. And also, I remember Victor wanted a huge extension, but trading him was short-sighted because, yeah, we had Evan and Alfred, but a good front office would have worked around that. So yeah, guys, please like, share, and subscribe if this video brought some value in your life, and also turn on the notification button in order to receive unique Magic content just like this.